Hi, my name is Sara. This is my final video for math. I'm gonna start with module 5, that it's about rational equations and inequalities. Okay, so in my exercise module 5, we're gonna find the vertical asymptote of this rational function. First, before I wanna give you a little explication about vertical asymptote that occur when the denominator of the fraction is equal to 0, but numerator is not. In the fraction, numerator is up and denominator is down. So that creates a vertical asymptote. So in my exercise, we need to consider the graph of the function. So we have a function and the question is, what are the vertical asymptotes? So for give an answer, we need to find the values of x that make the denominator equal to 0. So we are gonna start factor the numerator and denominator of the function. So we are gonna write our function equal x. Our numerator is I'm gonna show you a little bit. X elevate 2 minus 3x minus 4. This is my numerator of my exercise, and my denominator is x2 minus 9x plus 8. So we have, in my case, numerator and denominator, this is a fraction. So if we have this clear, now we can factor the numerator and denominator to make it easy to find the values that causes vertical asymptote. So first step is that we need to factor the numerator. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to -4 and add to -3. So in this case, the numbers are -4 and -1. So what we have to do here, how we know that? So we put x2 minus 3x minus 4. Why I write this? Because this is my numerator. So I put equal, we are gonna factor the numerator. So to factor, we put x here, so x, and now we put -4 in parentheses. And now, why put -4? Because this is the number that we find. And now we put parentheses x minus 1, and we close parentheses. Sorry, I have a little bit is plus 1. So now that we have this, we have to find the factor of denominator. So second step is to find it. We need to find two numbers that multiply 8 and add to -9. So this number are -8, and the second number is -1. So we have first number and second number. So with this, we are gonna write again the denominator. So x elevate 2 minus 9x plus 8 equal, because remember that we have to factor, so equal x minus 8, because remember the first number that we find to factor, close parentheses, open parentheses, and put x minus 1. So now our third step is identify the factors of the denominator that cause division by 0. So now in our third fact we need, wait a moment please, we have factored the expression. So let's identify factors of the denominator that will give us the values of x where the denominator is equal 0. So what we have to do here? We have to put the function f(x) equal, so x minus 4, because remember that when we factor, this is the first factor numerator and factor of denominator here. So we need to put, we have clear numerator and denominator were the results or the answers that we find when we do the factor. So we are gonna put a new fraction, and this is my function. We are gonna put numerator and denominator. This our numerator and this our new denominator. So x minus 4, x plus 1. Numerator, now denominator, x in parentheses, remember please, x minus 8 and x minus 1. So now to find the vertical asymptote, we set that denominator equal to 0 and solve for x. I mean x minus 8 and x minus 1 equal to 0. Why? Because remember that I said in the first part of the video, numerator is not equal to 0 when occurs a vertical asymptote. So in the denominator we put our denominator here, you see, and we put equal to 0. So now we set each factor of that denominator equal to 0. So what I mean, I have to put x minus 8 equal to 0 and x minus 1 equal to 0. So we put it x minus 8 equal to 0 and x minus 1 equal to 0. So here you can see this, this. But now we have to do another thing. If we can see, we have negative, but we have to change. So the correct answer, because we need to, like, I'm not sure this word in English, so we have to put x equal, and how in this case, in this side is negative number, when you go to put in the other side, change to positive. So x equal to 8 and x equal to 1. You know what I mean? So you change and we find the final numbers. So this is our values, and we find the correct answer. That was, what are the vertical asymptotes? So the vertical asymptotes answer are x equal 8, 1. So this is our correct answer. So the problem that I choose is find the x-interceptors of the following function. The function is 10 x elevate to plus 23x minus 42. So we have answer bank. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 answer, and we need to find the correct answers. So our first step is that we need to identify what we have to do. So what we have to do, find the x-interceptors of the function. So we're gonna put again our function. It's our first part function equal 10x2 plus 23x minus 42. So now to find the x-interceptors, I need to set the function equal to 0 and solve for x. So I need to write in our second step 10x2 plus 23x minus 42 and equal to 0. So look how is it, our function equal to 0. So now we are gonna use factoring. So where we use factoring, it's about, we need to find numbers. So we have a trinomial. So in this trinomial, I have to look for two numbers that multiply to 10 times minus 42, what number it can be. So it could be minus 420. So, and add 2 up 23. Why 23? Because we have in our function this, and this, a trinomial. So now what we have to do is the numbers that work are what, like we need to know what numbers work. So in this case, this is the third step for me. So in this case, the number are 35 and minus, like negative 12. So now we have 35 and 12. Maybe you ask me how I find this number, because 35 and multiply 12. What is the result? 420. And how we have a negative, remember that 12 is negative, so we put negative here, and it's how I find the answer. But that's not all, because we have minus 420 and 35, so plus negative 12, the number that we have. So we have to find that when we sum 23 in this fraction is equal or not equal. In my case, is equal. So if I do this operation, is equal to 23. So it's good. Now, how we have this, we need to rewrite that term. So I mean, we are gonna rewrite the function, but we have to include the number that we find. So what I mean, 10x2, and we put plus 35, remember that was the number that we find, x minus 12x minus 42. Because so we have 35, remember that was this, and these three numbers is part of our function that the problem gives us. So now we have to like group the terms, you know what I mean? So it's like two groups. In the first group we are gonna put 10x2 plus 35x, and we put parentheses, don't forget, minus 12x minus 42 parentheses. Why I put this? How I told you, I divide into groups. First group, so like first part is this and this here in parentheses. Second part, we put it here. So now we have to factor each group. So we have one group, two group. So we are gonna put first group and second group. In our first group, we are gonna put 5x in parentheses 2x plus 7 close parentheses minus 6. In our second group, we open parentheses 2x plus 7. So my first group, this is my factor for my first group, this is my factor for the second group. Now we have to factor again, you know what I mean? So to factor again, now a factor out the common binomial. So in this case it could be 5x, we are gonna, sorry, I forgot, open parenthesis 5x minus 6 close parenthesis 2x plus 7, remember, equal to 0. Now I said each part equal to 0, you know what I mean? So we are gonna put like the first part was 5x minus c equals 0. I'm gonna show you this part, this first part equal to 0, but it's not all because we have to put equal again 0, and here it's like a change, because remember that when you change the side, for example, if it is positive, if you change, now it's negative, of multiply, now it's division, you know what I mean? So in this case it could be x, because remember that we need to find x interceptors, so we need to find x, and so we change the side. Here we x go like free, x equal this number, so in minus 6 you change to side, so now it's positive, put here. Here how you can see is multiply, so if you change to the other side, now is divide, so 6 division 5. So here we find the first answer, so we put it again for more clear. Now you can see final answer. So the x interceptors are this, and remember that we also have another one, that is, remember when I told you about the first group and second group, so we have, in this case, we have 2x plus 7 equal to 0, because remember the first answer was 5x minus 6 and organized good. Now in our second group, when we factor, remember that was 2x plus 7 equal to 0. Now we put x alone, because remember that we find the x interceptors, so equal, and now remember what we are gonna put. That is, in this case, we have equal is positive number, so when you change negative number, and here is multiply, so now if you change the side is divide, so this would be our next option. First answer, second answer. So we look our answer bar and we mark the correct answer. So first we need to find this is here. Remember, we were gonna find the x-interception, so g interceptors is 0. So we look, this number is here, so we put correct answer. And second is this, x equal minus 7 divide 2. So we found it, and that's it. This is our next problem, module 6. In module 7, my problem is evaluate 2 multiplied by log base 2 of 12. This is my problem here. So in this case, what we have to do? We have to apply the inverse property of logarithms. What says the inverse property of logarithms? Says that v log open parenthesis b log v and parenthesis close parenthesis equal n. So that means if you have a number multiplied by a logarithm with the same base, the result is just the argument inside the log. So we are gonna apply it to understand better. So in this case, we have the log is base of 12 multiplied by 2. So using the inverse property, we can directly say 2 log 12 equal 12. You know what I mean? So remember, the base is the same. So for example, if we change this, it would be b log v and here equal n. So in this case, we have v log v and the number that is 12. So remember, if we use inverse the inverse property, so it would be v log 12 equal 12. So what do you think that is wrong here? If we have to use the same property, 2 log 2 12, yes, parenthesis open equal 12. So the correct answer, it could be this. This is a more easier problem. It's just to apply a property and that's it. Problem for module 8 is solve the following system of equations. So we have here, we need to solve this system of equations, that is x equal 2g plus 8 and 3x minus 2g equals 0. So also the problem says give your answer as an ordered pair, parenthesis a comma v. So in this case, what we have to do is explain how we are gonna resolve. So we have to use the first equation that is like already solved for x in terms of g. So we can substitute, sorry. So in this case, we can substitute x equal to g plus 8 into the second equation. So I'm gonna explain a little bit better. So if we substitute the second equation, it could be x equal to g plus 8 into the second equation. So we put 3, that is the second equation, open parentheses, 2g plus 8, that it was our first equation, equal 0. So I'm going to show you in this case how we do it. 3, that is part of the second equation, and we put complete our first equation. So now we are gonna expand the first part. So we put equal to 0. So we are gonna write it again to 3 open parentheses to g plus 8 equal, but now we are gonna put it equal to 0. We are gonna put it 6 g plus 24. Why we put it like that? Because we put, to expand we use 3 multiply 2, 6 g. Now 8 multiply 3, 4. So, and what is positive or negative? Positive. So we put positive. You know what I mean? So it's how we find our next number. Now the equations becomes 6g plus 24 equals 0. Remember how we find this number. 3 multiply 2, 6g plus 3 multiplied 8, 24. I think it's clear now. So now we have to simplify this. So we put 4g to simplify plus 24 equals 0. Now we simplify. Now we have to resolve g. So we have to subtract 24, that is this number in this case, from both sides. So we put 4g, if we subtract, so positive change to negative 24, and remember that is equal. So maybe it could be a little bit more clear. So 4g, this equal, here it was positive, but when remember that when you change the sides, positive change to negative, negative change to positive, or multiply change to division. So in this case, positive change to negative. Now we have to divide by 4. Why 4? Because, okay, I'm gonna explain a little bit better. So g equal g alone. So in this case is minus 24. Here is multiply, sorry, here is multiply here, so we are gonna put it to divide. So 4 here. So now g, when you do 24 divide 4 is 6, and is negative, there are a negative, so we put negative. G equal negative 6 minus 6. So here we resolve g, but now we have to substitute the values of g in the equation of x. You know what I mean? So now we know that g is equal minus 6, but we need to substitute this value into the first equation. Remember, our first equation was x equal to g plus 8. So in this case, we need to find x. Remember, we find g, now we find x. So we put x equal to open parenthesis, minus 6, close parenthesis. Why we put this? Because remember, this is our first equation, g. We find g to do x. So if we find g, it was minus 6. So here it could be minus 6. And 2, same number. And positive 8, same number. So now I think we have cleared this. So what are we gonna do? We are gonna start to resolve x. So 2 multiply minus 6 is minus negative 12. Here, how you can see. And plus, we put 8, and equal, maybe you can ask why equal is minus 4. Okay, why? Because we simplified this. So in this case, we have that we are simplify x, we solve x, and now we have simplified x. So now, how we know, or how I find the answer? Because minus 12 plus or sum 8, it could be minus 4. So this is the answer. So x equal minus 4 and g equal minus 6. So what does it mean? Okay, we are gonna read the problem again. Give your answer as an order or pay. Parenthesis a, comma v, comma a parenthesis, sorry. So our answer, it would be open parenthesis, we put what is the number that we find in x? Minus 4, right? Comma, what was the number that we find in g? Minus 6. So comma, minus 6. So we now x and g. And this is our correct answer.